So I really wanted to talk today about setting up an online teacher education business. It's really the story of what happened when I set up elttraining.com. And I guess that, I never saw myself, I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I never saw myself as somebody who would have a business actually in any way. I was very happy. I am very happy being a teacher, being paid a salary, all that sort of thing. And it never occurred to me that I could do something like this really. So I really, the main message I have today is that actually it's not as hard as you think, especially if you do it sort of part-time starting off. My business is actually now pretty successful. But it started very slowly and it's taken a while to grow, and it's been fun and I've really enjoyed it, and I've met a lot of people through it and I've made a lot of contacts through it, and I would recommend it as an option for anybody, who's any teacher. So I started out with a problem. I'm a CELTA trainer, and the problem was that a lot of the people who applied to the CELTA course were lovely people. I thought they'd probably be great teachers, but they were native English speakers and they probably didn't even know what a noun was really. Well, maybe they knew what a noun was, but they certainly didn't know what a preposition was. And they certainly didn't know what the present perfect was or why it was difficult for learners. And so what I would do is I'd say, well, off you go. Here's Michael Swan's book. Here's Martin Parrott's book. Here's, Raymond Murphy. Off you go with these men and come back to me when you've learned something. And of course, what they would, they would do it often, but it was difficult. And I think that the feedback I got from people was that these things weren't always all that accessible. They were quite difficult. And so I thought about trying to make an online course. So first of all, it's a face-to-face course, but I couldn't do it in the college I worked in for various reasons. So when I started doing an MA with Russell Stannard, I thought, well, maybe I could do it online. And I started out with this, basically, with Adobe Connect, and doing it in almost like a face-to-face course, but online. So in real time, synchronous, having lectures. And what I found was that people just didn't show up on time or at all. And so people were really keen, but they didn't come. And then I started making videos, and that seemed to be much more successful. So that was kind of the route I went down. People said it was more successful because they could come back to me at any time. It was obviously more convenient, and they could go at their own pace and they didn't have to feel rushed. So that was the way that that was my route. Then in 2012, I made this grammar course, Grammar for Language Teachers, which addressed the problem that I felt that they had, and set it up on ELT-training.com. So do go and have, if you don't know my site, then go and have a look. It's I'd be really interested to see what you think. I started off with Grammar for Language Teachers. About 2 years later, I also made another course, Concept Checking, and then I've made more courses in particularly in the last few months, actually, during lockdown. I started out with looking, so how do you do the videos? I started out with just having a PowerPoint like this, not having anything else, just doing a PowerPoint, not showing myself. So it was bad enough hearing my own voice. That was problematic enough to start with. And I certainly didn't want anyone to see me. I sort of thought, oh, I look so old, or my hair looks terrible, or, whatever else. So I used to just do it in my pajamas. It was very convenient. And then after a while, I also experimented with this way of doing things, which is, I used a program called Video Scribe, but there are lots of other doodly.com and various other things. It made nice videos, the animated thing where your hand draws, This made nice videos, and I liked them, but I found the pictures that you could have were fairly limited unless you paid for them more, and I just didn't like it. It felt like I was trying to shoehorn what I wanted to say into the pictures. So then I started to show myself. I decided that, if I were watching these videos, I'd want to see what the presenter looked like. So I started doing that, and obviously that meant I had to wash my hair and make sure I put a bit of slap on maybe. I wasn't always in there, usually a bit at the beginning, a bit at the end, and maybe sometimes in the middle. And then more recently, I've gone to this kind of approach where I sit at my wall just over there actually, and make a video of me talking through whatever I want to say, and then I put animations over the top of it. I've found that I quite like this approach, so this is what I'm going with at the moment. But somebody asked me recently, were your earlier videos, are these later videos, are they more popular? And actually, I don't think necessarily they are. So whether people care exactly how it's done, I don't know. But I quite like this last approach. This is my setup. So if you want equipment, this is what you need to do. Well, this is fairly minimal, and this is what I use. So as I say, it's literally just over there. I take that picture down. I have a light. Lighting's important. Lighting makes a big difference if you're showing yourself. I just sit on a chair and I just record the video with my Surface Pro. So it's, any kind of video would do. Your laptop video will be fine too. I then edit everything in Camtasia. Camtasia is a bit more expensive. It's about £130 for the educational version, but it's a one-off thing. You don't have to do it again. And that's what it looks like from the other side. So it doesn't really matter if you haven't got a very tidy space, as long as you've got one blank wall. I started off using Moodle, which is very cheap. It's free if you want it with adverts. It's a little bit more expensive otherwise, but it was very cheap and it worked very well for a long time for me. But I found ultimately that it didn't give me the kind of user experience that I wanted. So I started to use LearnWorlds about nearly 3 years ago. And that's a lot more expensive, but it's really great, really lovely to make courses in. It's very easy to build. It gives the learners a really good experience. I think it follows things through. How did I get myself known? Now, this is the big question, I think. And I think that's the thing that maybe people struggle with, is that when you start out on something like this, it's not, well, it wasn't for me, very natural to go, hello, I've got this course, I think it'll be really helpful for you, why don't you come and pay me to do it? So I started out with this CELTA toolkit, and I made myself a target of making a video every month. I'd make one video every month, and these ones followed, there was the methodology videos, they followed input sessions on CELTA. So they were about lesson planning and teacher talk and giving instructions and various other things, teaching grammar. And I put one of these up every month and I emailed them to all the CELTA centres. And I said, I've got this free video, you learn, your trainees might like it. And by the way, I also sell this grammar course that you might like. So I did that for 5 years, really consistently. And that's, I think, what largely grew my business. And a lot of people, a lot of my business came from referrals from trainers. I also got quite a lot of assessing work out of it, so that was nice. YouTube has also been very good to me. I think I put all my free videos up on YouTube, and that's been a really excellent medium to get myself out there. You get the occasional people who kind of go, oh, it's really boring, or that was terrible, but mostly people are really positive. So that's, that's been very nice too. I also use Facebook quite a lot. So I've joined a lot of Facebook groups, CELTA type Facebook groups, and made sure that I was on those kind of things. I get out on Twitter and Instagram a bit, but not as much as I perhaps used to. And I've just started last week, today's the second one has gone out, started sending out a newsletter to all the people who are signed up on my site. And there's about 11,000 people signed up on my site. So that's quite a big undertaking. I wasn't sure how this would go, but the first one I sent out brought back a flurry of lovely emails saying, yes, we really like this, thanks. So, that's what I'm planning to do. So if you don't know my site and you'd like to be on my newsletter list, then just register on elttraining.com, have a look around. There's a lot of free material, obviously paid courses as well. I do this for a living. And what I would say is that the money that I earn out of ELT training is the best money I earn. I also work at Warwick University and I do lots of CELTA stuff, assessing and things. So I've got other irons in the fire. But the money I earn from ELT training is my favourite money because it feels absolutely empowering. people are actually paying me specifically and directly because they like something I do, and that's really nice feeling. So thank you for watching. I hope that this has inspired you a little bit, and maybe you could start up your own ELT type of business too online. I think that's about 10 minutes. I think I did pretty well.
Yeah, you did wonderfully. Quick question, and I wasn't sure. I wanted to confirm it. Somebody asking, what was the name of the LMS that you use after Moodle?
Learn Worlds.
Learn Worlds.
Learn
Okay.
Worlds. There are lots that you can use. I mean, there's lots of different ones. I did quite a bit of research before I did it to try to see which one I liked best, and that one's been very helpful for me. It's about £800 a year, so it's not cheap.
Yeah.
But for me, it's definitely worth it. Moodle will cost me about £80 a year to take the adverts off, and it's Nomio, Gnomio, nomio.com will give you a Moodle site. So if you want to just play around with it and start, I'd say Moodle's a great place to start. It was very good for me for the first 5 years of my business. The problem with it is that when people log in, they can't go back to where they started or where they left off. They have to sort of find their place again. That was one of the big problems, and it always looks like Moodle. It doesn't look very nice, but it's a very powerful platform. You can do a lot with it, and it's almost free.
Yep, very good. Well, it was a lot of useful information, and I'm going to have to do one of these now too.
Great, excellent. Well, you should. You've got so much stuff here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Joe, and I appreciate you being here. And
it was lovely to be here. Thank you so much for asking me. Thanks, everybody else. Bye-bye.
Bye now.